And you know what? Without further ado, let's get right into this. Alec Walt is our guest. Alec, how's it going?
I'm doing well, man. I'm looking forward to the series this weekend and joining you on the show.
Yeah, no, me too. I've got my Yes Network app on in the background. The game should be starting right about now, the first of a 4-game set at Fenway. But first, in order to start off this session, I think we got to go back to last weekend. Now, the start of the series obviously didn't turn out really well for either of us because, as you remember, Thursday got canceled because we had 6 Yankees get the COVID outbreak. And all I can say is that is such a 2021 Yankees thing to happen. They've had a lot of weird, unlucky breaks, and this was just another one of them. And then in the first game, the bats really did not look great. Second inning, you had Christian Arroyo hitting a 3-run home run. And Alec, talk about the pitching of Eduardo Rodriguez. How impressed he's been pretty good against the Yankees so far, which is really insane considering his ERA.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone who's pitched really well at Yankee Stadium, and which is pretty crazy because Eduardo Rodriguez has had a really up and down season this year for the Boston Red Sox, and fortunately for the Red Sox, he was on the upswing when he was facing you guys against the Yankees. I mean, when he's on his game, he's one of the better pitchers, easily in the staff. I mean, that's the thing is when he's a guy that has to get through at least 5 or 6 innings, and that's the thing with the Red Sox whole rotation. If they can get 5 or 6, they have a bullpen that can get him through the game. And when I watch Eduardo Rodriguez, that's extremely promising for the Red Sox because you look at their rotation right now. They have Chris Sale eventually coming back. You're hoping he can be someone who can play in those tough environments and postseason games. He's a tough, gritty pitcher. He's been doing it for a long time here in Boston. I mean, it's so huge to see him have that performance in Yankee Stadium because that was a big game coming back from the All-Star break. The Sox had lost 4 or 5 going into it. The Yankees had a very productive series against the Houston Astros. So, he showed up in that first game. And again, it's been up and down, but we needed Eduardo Rodriguez to be spot on here in the second half because I don't know if you've watched, the Rays just made a massive trade and it's going to be an absolute war here in the American League East.
Oh yeah. They got Nelson Cruz, which, It's funny you should mention that because I had Dom a couple weeks ago. Actually, I had him back-to-back weeks. We had him on the big Subway Series roundtable, and then I had him in the recap of that Subway Series. And afterwards, we were doing some trade deadline discussions. And as a matter of fact, we talked about having we talked about Nelson Cruz potentially coming to the Rays and them helping them out. And, I think that's going to really help them down the stretch. They need a really big bat to complement all the other style of offense they had. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a perfect addition. I mean, he's a guy you're going to fit spot in the center of your lineup every single night in the DH spot. I mean, I know they put Austin Meadows in that spot. They've kind of moved a lot of pieces around. So, the Rays have a really deep team. Interested to see if some of these young kids can really step up in the second half. But he's an experienced hitter. He's a rock there in the middle of that order. I'm surprised. The thing with the Rays is they're a team that doesn't spend that much money. They're a small market team. They nearly won the World Series and let Charlie Morton walk for a couple $1 million. I mean, that's just how they operate. And Nelson Cruz is one of the most expensive DHs in the league. The 2 most are the 2 on our 2 respective teams. But, he signed like an $18 million contract this season, and the Rays are going to be chewing about, 40% of that with the rest of the season still remaining. So good job for the Rays coming out to spend some money because if they want to make a run here in this division, I mean, look at the Red Sox lineup. Look at the Blue Jays lineup. There's some really good matchups here. I think the Yankees could get interesting. I know we're going to get to that in just a little bit, but they needed to make a move to remain alive here in the AL East. They've been still behind the Red Sox pretty much this whole time, but this is the perfect ad for the middle of their order.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said, as I personally, over the course of this weekend, I was really happy that they took 2 out of 3, but I'm not going to get my hopes too high up despite the fact they're on a 4-game winning streak because I'm going to be honest, the Rays have only just gotten better, especially with the Nelson Cruz trade. And I like that they're doing that. They're striking while the iron's hot. And listen, you'd be surprised hearing this coming from me, but I really don't know if the Red Sox are going to go away anytime soon. I think their pitching is decent enough that it can probably carry them throughout the season. And we're not even factoring the Chris Sale possible return. And who knows if they can even get another starting pitcher into that rotation too. So I don't see the Red Sox really folding anytime soon. The lineup's really good, and we can obviously talk about a little bit about some trade stuff later, but let's get to the comments. John Rankin says, Hank Daddy. John, how's it going? Good to see you commenting as usual. And folks, if you want to comment, talk to us, please leave a comment in the section below, just like John did. I would love to interact with you guys as we discuss the Yankees and the Red Sox. And We got another one from Tom Scavetta. Tom,
There
what's up,
it is.
fellas? LGM. Your Mets had a pretty up and down week, but I'll tell you what, you
They
should
had
be
a
thankful
terrible
that the
weekend.
Yankees. You should be thankful that we swept the Phillies this week. I do want to say that.
Well, that's a whole nother road we can travel if you want to get into that division. But hey, the Yankees are coming into this series this weekend. Just to point it out, we're both playing some pretty good ball.
Yeah, no, for sure. So back to the series that we had. The second game, obviously, was the Saturday night game on Fox. It was really weird because the weather was pretty nice that day, actually. And then they called a delay because of weather in the forecast. And then by the time it actually started raining, they said, oh, let's just keep playing until like the sixth inning or something, make the game official. It was really weird. And I'm going to be honest. I don't know about you. I kind of think the Yankees, in a way, got lucky to win that game. Now, that's not saying I'm not appreciating that win. Obviously, I am, because like they needed that. They were getting no hit for like the first 4 innings. Nathan Eovaldi was dominating us. Like, I thought it was going to be another one of those typical starts where he just, he comes out against the Yankees. He always has that anger whenever he faces against them, and for good reason. But then they tied it with that big DJ LeMahieu RBI double. And then in the sixth inning, you had the back-to-back home runs from Gary and Glaber. So that was a big game. And, the real win for me in that, obviously, was my heart rate didn't have to increase from seeing Chapman. So that's a W right there.
Yeah, I mean, and Chapman, man, he talk about being up and down. I mean, my God. I mean, it was good to see him. I think it was in the Phillies series where he hit 103. He gave up a solo shot and got a little angry, but yeah, I couldn't imagine, man. He's making a lot of money to be the closer for your team, and he's giving you guys some brutal ninth innings. So it was good to see him close out that one, at least for your sake there in that series. But yeah, that game, in my opinion, shouldn't have happened. The rain was sideways. You could see it pouring on the screen. I think the fact that they had to reschedule the first game in this series had a lot to do with the fact that they wanted to find a way to make this game end. So in my opinion, I think it's a little ridiculous. The rain was pouring. I mean, I haven't seen a baseball game in my life, and I'm not saying this because the Red Sox lost. I've never seen a baseball game happen in weather that was that bad in years.
No, it was crazy. I was actually at that game too. So yeah, I had to
brutal.
I had to take cover somewhere in a part of the stadium because it was pouring rain and it was ridiculous. And the crazy part was I actually stayed the whole game. I stayed until they essentially kicked us out. Yeah. I don't know why I did, but then again, I'm a bit of a crazy person.
That was a slow-moving game, too. It was 11 in the 6th or something like that. I know they started late, but that game was dragging.
I feel like they probably could have gotten more innings in if they had just started at the normal time, too.
I mean, yeah. But, I mean, they probably would have just reached close to 9 at that same time because it started an hour or so late. But, yeah, I haven't seen a baseball game in that type of environment in so long. It was crazy. I mean, you look at the rest of the series, Sox didn't hit. You guys won 9-1 the next game?
Yeah, that was the other crazy game, too, because I was not expecting them to blow out the way they did. You had another Glaber home run. That was his 5th on the season. It's great to see him starting to heat up.
Talk about someone you guys need him heating up. I mean, if you guys want any chance. I mean, even if you mentioned Gary Sanchez, the guy who hit the back-to-back home runs with him in the series earlier, I mean, the Yankees need him. You got to hit them to start heating up because Judge, I mean, he'll eventually come back. Early in the season, looked like one of the best hitters in the league and obviously dealt with some injuries. But you go down the depth in this lineup. I know we're going to talk about some young kids in a bit who's really stepped up, but you need these guys to step up because if you want to consider buying at the deadline or consider making any sort of move, if Torres and Sanchez are cold, you guys aren't going anywhere.
Oh, that is an understatement of the year. And those are the two most mercurial guys in the lineup. Sanchez in particular, because you've seen me go off on Sanchez many a time.
I feel like he always hits a home run against the Red Sox.
He does. You're right.
It seems like that. But either way, just for your sake, I know the deadline's about 8 days away or so from now at 4 Eastern there on the 30th. I mean, I don't want if the way I look at the series coming up this weekend, if you guys get swept, there's not a chance you're buying.
No.
If you guys sweep the Sox, you're going to be headline news. Everyone's going to be talking about the Yankees. Who are they going to buy? Can they make more runs? This is a massive series for both teams.
Yeah.
Because the Rays are now better. The Yankees need to jump 2 teams. So they're like the next 4 days, they're going to really know the state of their roster.
Definitely.
And if you're 12 games back just before the deadline, there's not a shot Cashman does anything.
Yeah, I'm really on the fence about the Yankees buying, to be honest with you, because
I feel like.
Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like you guys are in a way better position to spend on some of these potential free agents when they're free agents. Like, why buy Marte when you can give him 3 or 4 years at $40-50 million next year?
Right.
In free agency. There's no reason to get rid of the prospects.
Yeah, no, exactly. And now, speaking of prospects, I think we got to talk about your guy, Jarren Duran, because they made his debut on Saturday. I think he got his first hit that game, too. No?
Off Cole. It was his first pitch.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And I know he hit his first home run against the Blue Jays. What did they win 2 out of 3 that week?
I don't think they played all 3 games. The Red Sox won 2 of them. I think they only played twice. I could be wrong, but I know. I think the first one was postponed due to weather, and then they played 2 more games. The Sox killed them offensively. Like, they were putting on a show. I think they hit 7 or 8 home runs in those 2 games. But yeah, the thing with Duran is he's a name I've been hearing about for a really long time in Boston because he was productive at every single level that he played in, and he provided that element of base running. They ended up moving him to the leadoff spot, playing center field. And when you looked at the Red Sox and they lost Jackie Bradley Jr., it was pretty clear that the future in center field is Jarren Duran. Obviously, to start the season, they went with Kike Hernandez, who I think's been spectacular in that spot this season. But the thing with Duran, and he's a veteran prospect, you could say. He's 24 years old, really moved into the top 100 this past season, but he provides something the Sox don't have, and he's an unbelievable base stealer. He had 70 stolen bases in his first 2 seasons as a professional, and I think he's going to make a huge impact on this team. Yes, I know the leadoff hitter now is Kike Hernandez, who I expect to stay in that spot. I think down the road, Duran could eventually jump into that spot if Kike ends up fading out, but he's a very solid center fielder, great contact hitter, is a bullet around the bases and can provide that element of base running here for the Red Sox. This is a huge, almost mid-season addition for this team. I think he's going to make a real his presence will be known there in center field. I think this kid's an absolute stud and has a chance to be a center fielder for a while in Boston.
Yeah, I completely agree. He looked really good so far. He had that big home run. I think it was the first game of the Toronto series which he absolutely crushed it. Yeah. Moonshot in Buffalo, and then with the speed and athleticism, I'm going to be honest, I think he probably does take that leadoff spot. Because I really don't know if you can rely on Kike to be the leadoff hitter for like the rest of your season, no?
Yeah, I mean, the thing was, he's obviously more experienced in that role. You want to take some of the offensive pressure him as he gets used to major league pitching. So I don't have a problem with him hitting down in the order. Personally, if the Sox can put like Kike eventually deeper in the order, move Duran up to the top, put Kike on base for the order to flip back to the top, that's even better. If you can get guys like Hernandez and Duran consistently on base with some of the rest of the guys in this lineup, you're going to be successful. But, when the Red Sox started their AAA season this year in Pawtucket, they had him in center field. They had him in the leadoff spot. The Sox made it clear that they want to develop him into that type of player who can make an impact on the bases for some of the big bats in the lineup to score him as much as possible. So, as long as if Kike loses his job, I mean, right now he hasn't lost it. He's been one of the better leadoff hitters, extremely productive in that spot. So for now, it's Kike. If things need to change, there's still 60-plus games left in this season. A lot can happen these next couple months for the Red Sox, but I do eventually expect him to move up, whether it's sometimes to end this year or to start the season in 2022.
All right, now let's talk a little bit about this current series. Now tonight, obviously, we have Jordan Montgomery pitching up against Tanner Houck. Now, is this an opener game for the Sox? Because I've seen Tanner Houck pitch in relief a lot.
Yeah, so when he was brought back from injury, he pitched in Pawtucket. I think his last 6 appearances, he's pitched less than 4 innings in each of them. He got like a 3-inning save in his first appearance back. It was over the week. I think it was against the Yankees. Right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So I kind of had a feeling he was going to be a shorter relief guy to begin with. I'm actually surprised he's starting. I'm interested to see how many innings he goes, but the last couple times he's been on the mound, he hasn't gotten past 4, and Cora likes to hit that 5-6 mark with his starters, so it'll be interesting to see if he has that ability to get that deep into the game, but they've been very cautious of his innings at both levels since he's been back from injury.
Now, for the remainder of the series, I'm going to list out the rest of the pitching matchups. Garrett Cole against Erod is tomorrow night. That's a game I really think the Yankees on paper
Yankees have to win that.
You have to win that series. That game, I agree.
Every time Garrett Cole's on the mound, the Yankees have to win if they want a chance.
Definitely. And then Saturday, you got Tyon against Eovaldi. That should be a good one, but that's the one I've told you numerous times. Whenever Eovaldi pitches against us, I always get nervous.
And Tyon is the last pitcher. I don't like that matchup for you guys at all.
No, me neither. And then Sunday, I think we have Herman against Martin Perez. So honestly, if I had to assess the series, I'm going to say it's going to be a split. I don't really see anybody winning the series personally.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on, both teams are playing well right now. And obviously you guys have the advantage in the Cole game. We have the advantage. Red Sox have the advantage in the Eovaldi game, but you never know when it's Red Sox and Yankees to throw the records away. I mean, both teams have been very vocal this year about not liking each other. The Yankees desperately need this series if they want to do something this season, and the Red Sox are looking at it like, if we show up and play the best we can play, we can end the Yankees season pretty much. If you guys, again, are 12, 11 games back going into the trade deadline, there's a very low chance you can make up that many games in about a 60 or so game span. So I think the Red Sox have a real chance to take 3 of these. Garrett Cole's looked phenomenal the last couple times he's taken the mound. The first was against the Houston Astros when he pitched 127 or 129 pitches. Then he pitched against the Red Sox in that horrible, terrible weather game. How many pitches did he throw?
I don't remember, but I know he struck out 11 batters in that game. He was absolutely dominant. I think he might have stayed till at least the 7th or 8th inning had the game been a normal one.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think you guys actually, did you see what the Red Sox did with their lineup today?
What'd they do?
They moved Devers up to 2 and dropped Verdugo down to 6 or 7.
Ooh, interesting.
So now they moved Bogarts up. So it's Hernandez, Devers, Bogarts, JD.
By the way, I saw another comment that I don't want to ignore this comment. How's it going, Ryan? Good to see you checking in our show. One of my coworkers at my summer job, just had to give him a little shout out. But
nice.
Anyways, back to what we were talking about. Another thing I kind of wanted to bring up, Greg Allen has absolutely been a breath of fresh air for this Yankees lineup, in my opinion. I mean, when you think of the Yankees and their hitters, you think of power and going for the home runs. He brings a completely different element. Speed and athleticism. He's hitting .417, and I think this guy's definitely going to be the good luck charm of the Yankees right now.
You guys have been looking for that type of player forever. I mean, yes, you are a team built on power bats, power arms, but at the end of the day in Major League Baseball, you need men on base. You need men going first to third, rounding third, making an impact on the bases. And, you look at the Yankees and you have Judge, Stanton, Odor, Sanchez, Torres. You got a lot of guys who don't exactly provide that spark. I mean, you're going to notice when you get some of these more guys on base, it's going to make life so much easier for some of your power bats. So, it's been nice to see. I didn't know too much about him. He's been a very nice presence since he's been on the Yankees so far this season. But for a while, the Yankees have needed that base running threat, and it's nice to finally see one there because, like when you guys signed Odor this offseason, I was like, he doesn't fix the need for that on-base threat kind of guy. Yes, he's been okay at points this year, but the Yankees have needed it. They finally have it, and you're starting to see a difference here in your order.
Yeah, definitely. And now let's talk a little bit about trade deadline stuff. I know I saw your video recently. You talked about how you really wanted Anthony Rizzo. And, you're not the only one who I've seen make a case about that. There was another Red Sox fan who I saw him, a blog he wrote saying that he really wanted Anthony Rizzo in his lineup. And, if you really think about it, it makes sense. I mean, this is a guy who came up through your system. He was drafted by Theo Epstein too, if I remember correctly. But then obviously we know they traded him to the Padres in the infamous Adrian Gonzalez deal. And we obviously know, I don't really think either team won that trade because the Padres ended up trading him to the Cubs. They didn't really develop in San Diego. But I think getting an Anthony Rizzo could really bolster your lineup too. And, he brings leadership to the table. So more than just hitting home runs and more than just stability at first base. I really think that makes sense. And as much as I would love for the Yankees to get a guy like him, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely check out my video on Down the Block Sports. I talk about Anthony Rizzo going to the Red Sox. I mean, you mentioned it right there. Team player, massive defensive upgrade against Bobby Dalbec, and has better offensive numbers. You know, with just his overall character, he's going to fit in very well in the Red Sox clubhouse, and you know, it's an improvement. And he's not going to be that much offensive pressure on him. He's hitting 6th or 7th. And he hit well in the World Series when he was there. If the Red Sox want to think about doing that, you might as well get someone who has experience in that role and was successful when he was doing that. So I think he makes a lot of sense. Dalbec hasn't really been that impressive in my opinion. I think he's hitting below 220. You want to win a World Series, get some guys who've been there before and are going to hit above that line.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I said, his leadership qualities I think are important too. And yeah, Dalbec's hitting 217. I'm taking a look at his stats just out of curiosity. 10 home runs. That's not really going to cut it. And he hasn't really quite lived up to his potential. And we got another comment from Adam Rothschild. Adam goes, "Hi, Hank. We are on the Cape in Massachusetts. Should I leave now or stick it out?" No, I think you should stick it out. The game just started. It's only the bottom of the first. No score. 2 outs. And I believe Xander Bogaerts is up at bat right now. As I said, I've got the screen on my other part of my laptop.
Nice.
That's how dedicated a fan I am. What can I tell you?
There you go. I don't have it on in front of me, so you're going to need to keep me updated.
Oh, no problem. But yeah, it should be a pretty good series. In case you missed it earlier, I predicted a split with this series. I don't know what your thoughts are too, but I think you also had a split. No,
I think the only game the Red Sox lose is Coles.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
They're probably going to lose while I'm on the air with you with my luck. Give them that little jinx. But no, you guys should absolutely win that Garrett Cole game. I think you guys will at least take one. I'll be shocked if it's a sweep, but I think the Red Sox are going to go into this deadline with some momentum. I mean, they have the chance to do more than just go for Anthony Rizzo. I mean, when you look at their starting rotation right now, it's going to improve with the addition of Tanner Houck getting more innings down the road and Chris Sale in the bullpen. You know, Sawamura has been solid. Taylor was good, and he's starting to fade a little bit, starting to make me a little bit nervous. He's not as dominant as he was early in the season. No, he had like a 26-inning scoreless streak, and he's been a little shaky since. Ottavito's been solid. Matt Barnes has been very solid. I think they need to kind of take his usage back a little bit. I know you kind of can't when you get into all these division matchups, but Sox have used him a ton this year. Just something to monitor there for Alex Cora. But when you look at the Red Sox, I think they're fine. Because in the playoffs, you like to use some of your starters as middle relief guys. I think with the 6 or 7 they have on that team, they can fill those type of roles. If they can get another back of the bullpen piece, maybe move Barnes into a setup / closer role, kind of have him balance a little bit, take some of the pressure off of him, Ottavino as well. I think that'd be a huge addition. I don't know if Kimbrel's an option, because if they do want to go the Rizzo route, they're going to be a little bit limited cap space wise. So they got to hope Chaim Bloom can find some of those sleepers like he did when he was with the Rays all those years. And I think it's going to make a huge difference for this team. So I think the lineup set could upgrade at first base. The bullpen, the rotation set, we do still need to monitor the progress of Chris Sale and see how Tanner Houck can eat a little more innings down the road. But if they can get another bullpen piece, I think it'd be a huge addition for this final run towards the postseason.
Yeah, definitely. So it goes, and you know, I don't even know if you necessarily need to add a starter. Like, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of Red Sox fans saying, "Oh, add a starter, it gives us more depth," which, you know, in theory makes sense. But with the way it's been performing now and the way that Chris Sale's been pitching, I don't know if you necessarily will go after a starter. But with that having said, I am curious, hypothetically, who would you go after if you like really wanted another starter in that rotation?
I mean,
and who would make the most sense?
I don't see them going after like a Scherzer.
No,
I don't see them going after a not Herman Marquez.
Okay, yeah, no, you don't want our wife beater pitcher on our team.
Yeah, I had the Herman kind of mixed me up. I used the last name first of the first name.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, that's kind of where Chaim sits there and just kind of solves his little math problem and figures out who he wants to add to this team. I mean, it's tough to evaluate, because if the Red Sox go after a starter, I don't think they're going to blow up their system to get that great of a starter. Maybe if they include, I mean, I know this isn't the starting pitcher, but Andrew Chafin or someone like that in the Rizzo deal. I know he's been a very solid reliever. But I think if the Red Sox do go after a starter, and that's the main question Red Sox fan have is, how good is Sale going to be? How quick is it going to be till he is able to pitch that many innings with the Red Sox? What happens if Sale has a setback? They've been very healthy this year in the rotation for the Red Sox. They've had 5 or 6 starters, I believe, this whole season. What if something happens down the road where you deal with an injury or have to put someone on the IL? I mean, I don't know if you can have that much injury luck for an 162-game season. The Red Sox have been lucky this year, but you always want to be a little bit cautious. So I think it's best like a 3-4 starter. Again, I can't really think of any names because, it's just kind of a random addition. It'd have to be at that point. But if you're a Red Sox fan, you're thinking Kimbrel, you're thinking, Hendricks, you're thinking any other the top level potential free agents. Don't think that because Heim's going to make some sneaky little Rays moves, and that's the only thing I can see him doing with this rotation.
Yeah, he doesn't really sound like a GM I'd want to make deals with, and because I remember I know his reputation.
I mean, he robbed the Phillies.
Well. He robbed the Pirates too.
That's not when he was in Boston. But
no, I know, but you know what trade I'm referring to.
Yes, but think about last year. We traded Hembry and what is his name? I think he's back in Boston now.
I know Workman
to Philly for Pivetta and Seawald. Pavetta's been in the rotation all season and been very productive, better than he was when he was in Philly. Seawald is like moving towards that top 10 level in the Red Sox system. I know it's not the deepest system in the world, but, he's moving up the ranks here. And, you like to see that. You look at the Red Sox farm system right now, a lot of the pieces there are guys that Heim has added. Yes, he added Jeter Downs. A couple other guys here that's especially from the top level, but Heim's, you're starting to see some of the Heim Bloom names a little bit deeper in the system, and he's really been making an impression right early in Boston. So to think about his first move being trading Mookie Betts and being fan favorite after 2 years is mind blowing.
Yeah, no, and I respect Heim. He's made a trade that not too many other GMs would do. 9 out of every 10 times when you have a superstar in your lineup, you would never think of the possibility of trading him while he's still in his prime, whereas trying to build for your future. But, looking at the Mookie Betts deal, it's kind of working out for the Red Sox. As much as you hate to lose a guy of superstar caliber like that, it's hard for me to say the Red Sox really lost that trade based on the production that we're seeing out of Verdugo and based off the potential that we could be seeing from Jeter Downs. And hey, bonus if Connor Wong somehow produces.
Yeah, and I mean, Connor Wong plays catcher, a position the Red Sox don't have much of in their system. I know in I think Jeffrey Springs and Josh Osich trade they made with the Rays earlier this year, they got a Rays catcher that Heim really likes, so hopefully he can make an impact in the system. But Verdugo has been a solid MLB player. Jeter Downs was asked to go to the Futures games, so he's kind of being mentioned with some of the top prospects in baseball. So we're seeing some of that talent pay off. So hopefully we can see Downs soon. But yeah, it's interesting. I think Heim's done an outstanding job. I think some of the pieces he signed even this year. Look at Kike Hernandez, comes to Boston, fits in immediately. You didn't think of him being a center fielder to start the season. Next thing you know, he takes a spot full time. Now it's obviously Duran's, but wherever he's been asked to go, he's fit in well. Marwin defensively, he plays first, short. He plays all over the field at this point. You're just seeing a lot of these pieces fit in really well in Boston, and they're all responding to Alex Cora now as the head manager.